I do not blame them for canceling us. Oh, I can show y'all a blooper reel sometime.
A veteran sketch comic performer iconic to generations of fans from his years on Nickelodeon and Saturday Night Live, Kenan Thompson waited a long time to get a shot at starring in his own network television series. But despite all the goodwill he had built up with audiences and all the past success SNL's cast has when it comes to launching their own shows, Kenan's sitcom wiped out. Apparently, audiences didn't think it was all that.
I don't want to talk about my past. I don't want to talk about my repast, because repast means food, and I don't want to talk about it. I just want to eat it, y'all.
We'll get into why, but first, why not take a moment to subscribe to the Nerdstalgic channel? Kenan Thompson started taking acting lessons at the age of 5. By the time he was 16, he was one of the breakout stars of Nickelodeon's sketch comedy show All That, where he became known for his big smile and goofy, high-energy comic delivery.
It's Super Dude!
That's right, I'm Super Dude. The teenage superhero with powers that make women sweat. It's true!
Higher-ups took note, and just 2 years later, he became one of the eponymous co-stars of Kenan and Kel, which ran for 4 seasons. His television success would also land him in a few movies, like 2 of the Mighty Ducks sequels and the All That spin-off movie, Good Burger.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
But it was in 2003 that Thompson got the gig he would come to call his forever plan when he joined the cast of Saturday Night Live as a featured player.
Oh my God, are you guys the new dudes? Yeah, What's your names? Like I care.
No one could have known it at the time, but Thompson's residency on the iconic sketch comedy show would basically be permanent. He would go on to become SNL's longest tenured cast member, break the series record for the most number of celebrity impressions, and as of this writing, he's still part of the ensemble.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Black Jeopardy, the only TV game show where the audience is in church clothes.
Nonetheless, it would take him up until 2021 to finally get a starring role in his own scripted network sitcom. On the show, simply titled Kenan, Thompson played Kenan Williams, a widowed father raising 2 young daughters with the help of his brother Gary, played by Thompson's fellow SNL co-star Chris Redd, and his father-in-law Rick, played by Don Johnson. Kenan Williams is a former actor who married the actress that, despite only being 3 years his senior, played his mother on his show.
That's just nasty.
I know. That's what all the fans thought too. But it's not like we were really related. And we were only 3 years apart, but I got the baby face.
Now the host of a local Atlanta television morning show called Wake Up with Kenan, he struggles to be a good father to his kids while dealing emotionally with the loss of his spouse, which occurred about a year before the series began. Clearly inspired by laugh track-enhanced multicam family sitcoms of the 1980s and 90s, like The Cosby Show, A Different World, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Kenan aimed to, in his own words, show young black fathers in a positive light, while putting a new twist on the uplifting father figure kind of show. And indeed, the series did try to do some things differently than its predecessors, like using a single cam format and ditching the old-fashioned laugh track, but the new twist mainly turned out to be a more realistic take on its main character's struggle with grief.
I'm fine.
You are not fine, man, because you're doing that thing with your nose with one nostril just flares by itself.
For real?
Yeah.
Which one?
The one that's flaring.
Reviews for the show were fair to positive right from the start, and between live viewing and DVR, over 5 million people watched the pilot, which was considered strong for a new network series in 2021. But those numbers fell off fast, and by the end of season 1, Kenan was pulling in an audience less than half the size of the pilot. The second season didn't do any better, and what would turn out to be the series finale drew in only 1.5 million total viewers. After just 20 episodes over 2 seasons, Kenan was canceled in May of 2022.
I know the streets said no snitching in the hip-hop community, but I gotta take this to Yelp. People need to know.
And Kenan did manage to snag himself an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series in 2021. But compared to the massive TV success found by so many of his SNL cohorts when they went solo, it's hard to look at Kenan's show as anything other than a failure. Tina Fey and Tracy Morgan, for example, got 7 seasons out of the wildly popular 30 Rock. And Amy Poehler equaled that run with the critically beloved Parks and Recreation. Andy Samberg starred for 8 seasons on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Will Forte had a 4-season run with The Last Man on Earth. And while it's true those shows were slightly older and likely benefited from airing in a different era of television, Bill Hader's Barry and Jason Sudeikis' Ted Lasso are contemporary series that broke through in a big way while Kenan was floundering. In fact, the level of adoration the latter 2 shows received only draws attention to how little Kenan's series ever really registered on the greater pop culture radar. So what went wrong? Whereas shows like Barry and Ted Lasso took their respective formats in bold and fresh new directions, Kenan was a little too similar to the 80s and 90s shows it drew from, and as a result, it felt old-fashioned. For a show that set out to put a new twist on its genre, it didn't nearly feel new enough. And what it did do differently than its TV ancestors, delving into its heroes' grief in a way a show like Full House would never have, it didn't do all that well. Handling dark subject matters is by no means a stumbling block on comic success. Shows like Barry and BoJack Horseman have proven that television can get big laughs from heavy subjects. But unlike those series, Kenan never embraced the idea of being a dark comedy. It was just a generic family sitcom with a lot of depressing moments, and that kept it from ever being all that funny.
My dad got sad. He'd drink and swear and then disappear for 3 days.
That's disturbing.
Or is it the coolest thing you ever heard?
These problems are likely the result of a tortured development process. Though the initial idea for a show centered on a dad and his family seems to have been Thompson's, Kenan himself isn't much of a TV writer, having only one co-writing credit, an episode of All That, to his name. As such, he turned to Superstore head writer Jackie Clark to draft the pilot of what was originally called Saving Larry. Shortly thereafter, former SNL star Chris Rock took over as executive producer and director for the pilot, which, likely to cash in on its star's name, was retitled Saving Kenan. But after Kenan and the producers had a chance to live with the material for a while, the show was retooled so they could, according to him, flesh out the world a little more. The end result of all these creative hands in the process was a bland show with a boring premise.
I knew he'd crack. Pay up, losers.
The final product felt forced and calculated, and despite the fact it all started with a genuine creative spark from Kenan himself, it lacked any sense of an authentic creator voice. And one Kenan might be especially vulnerable to, since unlike many of his SNL castmates, he exclusively relies on other creatives to write for him. But even given all that, it's hard not to think the problem was something much more basic. Namely that even if its execution had been stellar, a depressing, introspective series about a man coping with grief just isn't really what Kenan fans want from him.
And I thought, I would handle it the way I always do, which is to not. But that didn't work.
Don't get us wrong, it's commendable he wanted to stretch himself as a performer, and he didn't do a bad job. But from a guy the world mainly loves for his ability to deliver lighthearted silliness, the material just might not have been the best match. The most telling fact could be that while he was originally expected to depart SNL after his 18th season to work on Kenan, Thompson instead announced that, unlike most cast members to get their own show, he would continue to appear on the iconic sketch comedy series. Considering how things worked out, it seems like a safe bet that even the star of the show had his doubts about whether Kenan the series was good enough to go the distance.
I don't know if and when I'll ever leave SNL kind of thing because it's
21
just a cool
years,
experience.
they should rename that part of Fifth Avenue Kenan Thompson.
How cool would that be?
But given how long he's been making us all laugh, it's hard not to feel like Kenan Thompson deserved better than being shoehorned into a needlessly depressing take on a stale format. For now, he's still on his forever plan at Saturday Night Live, but given his recent comments about how he thinks the show should end after its forthcoming 50th season, we'd like to imagine that maybe he's eyeing another stab at his own series. So what do you think? Are you a fan of Kenan Thompson? And if so, did you like his sitcom? Let us know down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely find others you like if you check out the rest of the channel. As always, thank you for subscribing to Nerdstalgic.